13 years later, when he was 56, the FBI extradited him from the island in the Caribbean where he had been living, teaching high school, and writing for the local newspaper. From a dank island jail, he was brought back to the United States and placed in a medium security unit where he was the oldest inmate. After a few months, he had a heart attack due to untreated high blood pressure. My sister and I visited him as he lay in a hospital bed, his wrists bound to the bed rail with heavy chains. These chains went with him everywhere. They bound him to his wheelchair on our subsequent visits to the jail and were wound around his waist and ankles as he stood in the courtroom. My father was a writer and a poet, and gave quite a powerful speech before the judge. His sentence was fairly light, 5 years probation and time served, as the judge took into consideration the racist nature of the initial confrontation and the character references sent in by his students and colleagues from the island. But after his trial, my father's conversations and letters became increasingly epic and declarative in scope. With somber grandiosity, my father proclaimed himself a prophet. Born wrapped in his mother's caul, he told my sister and me, he was gifted with extreme sensitivity, premonitory powers, and the ability to speak with spirits. He announced that he was no longer African American, but a native of African descent, tracing his psychic and spiritual powers through our indigenous ancestors. After his days as a warrior, he explained, he would now spend the rest of his life as a seer, a truth-teller with direct access to the wisdom of our Creek and Cherokee ancestors from Alabama. He then migrated to Canada and began signing his letters first as Chief Two Eagles and then as Painted Wolf. He addressed me as Daughter of the Chief. Thus began my father's speculative visions of final days and the days to follow, which he collected in a number of volumes. He spent several years in trances and oracular states, channeling spirit beings, most often a 19th century Creek chief named Octavia and a spirit named Golden Ray. Through auditory visitations in dreams and in the moments after waking, the chief or the spirit would speak to my father of disasters soon to come and of the new age to follow. First, there was to be a great reckoning. As the result of racism, capitalism, and other violent systems of oppression and exploitation, the world was to be destroyed through economic disaster, fire, flood, earthquakes, and disease. But a new age was to succeed this end of days. The human life that survived would be radically transformed. Capitalism would be dismantled. Forms of sociality were to shift. People would cohabit in collective units instead of families, sharing the responsibility for reproduction and child-rearing. Adept spirits like Golden Ray, who already exist among us as vibration and frequency, would provide guidance. Humans would physically evolve. Without the need for hierarchical power relations or systems of oppression, races and genders would cease to be relevant and disappear. All vocal speech would become redundant, replaced by extrasensory forms of communication. Finally, Golden Ray told my father, human beings would be biologically modified by astral beings from another dimension. These cosmic entities would alter human DNA, bringing in a new era of existence. Humans, as such, would die as they evolved into new states of being. "What will you do when the final days begin?" he asked me sternly. My first reaction was a deep compassion. As Frantz Fanon wrote, many of his generation suffered in the mind from the effects of direct combat in the wars against colonialism and the afterlives of slavery. But my sister made me think twice about my assumption that he was suffering from psychosis. "Who knows? Maybe he's right," she said. Soon after my father's admonishment came a terrifying series of disasters that disproportionately affected the poorest among us. There was disease. In 2003, an outbreak of SARS struck China. There were massive floods. In 2004, an underwater earthquake and subsequent tsunami devastated South Asia, killing more than 225,000 people and displacing millions. That same year, a flood killed in excess of 2,500 people in Haiti. In 2005, Hurricane Katrina struck the southern United States, and the levees breached in New Orleans. Federal and state governments neglected those stranded in the